Maybe you should talk to someone. Chapter 1. At the point patients enter therapy, their issues are generally more profound than they initially show up. All in all, disclose to me what brings you here today. That is the issue the creator more often than not uses to start her first treatment session with a patient. The appropriate response the patient gives is called his introducing issue, the issue that acquires him to the specialist's office search of an answer. It could be something explicit, for example, encountering the departure of a friend or family member or experiencing fits of anxiety. Or on the other hand, it could be something obscure, similar to a general feeling of being trapped. Sadly, a patient's displaying issue more often than not isn't his genuine, basic issue, and the arrangement he looks for isn't the genuine arrangement either. For instance, a TV scriptwriter named John went to the writer with an apparently clear arrangement of showing issues. He experienced a sleeping disorder, battled with his significant other and was getting a handle on worried by work, where he thought about his collaborators were nitwits. To him, the arrangements appeared to be comparatively direct. He simply needed to have the option to get a decent night's rest and to vent to the writer about his better half and partners. Be that as it may, it turned out his genuine issues, alongside their answers, went a lot further. They included some disastrous occurrences from quite a while ago. At the point when he was just 6 years of age, his mum was kept running over by a vehicle and kicked the bucket. At that point, when he was a grown-up, he got into a fender bender that killed his child, in a heartbreaking fortuitous event. The kid was likewise just 6 years of age at the time. The blend of these two occasions drove John to build up a large group of individual and passionate issues, as unacknowledged distress and a powerlessness to be open to individuals. Indeed, even in his treatment sessions with the creator, he concealed the awfulness of his child's passing for about a large portion of a year, and he was not able to completely connect with the creator. Rather, he redirected her inquiries with improper jokes, put down, interferences and different types of inconsiderate conduct, incorporating sending writings in treatment. Recognizing his anguish and figuring out how to turn out to be progressively open to individuals ended up being the genuine answers for his basic issues. Be that as it may, it took him a great deal of work to arrive at the point where he could even perceive these issues, not to mention take care of them. That is valid for most patients, in any event, when they themselves are specialists. We'll begin taking a gander at the explanations behind this in the following flicker. Chapter 2. Patients often start therapy believing in unhelpful accounts that they've developed about their problems. At the point when a patient starts therapy, she generally doesn't simply have a showing issue, she likewise has an entire account worked around it. Sadly, it's generally a truly unhelpful story, one that the patient uses to rearrange her concern and venture it outward as opposed to burrowing further and moving her concentrate internal. That was surely the situation for the creator when she herself searched out treatment. For a long time, she had been dating a man who she had been anticipating wedding. They were infatuated, and everything appeared to go fine. At that point, all of a sudden, he declared that he needed to cancel their relationship. The explanation? All things considered, she was a single parent with an 8-year-old child, and he understood that he would not like to live with a youngster. Her beau had never even indicated this issue, so the disclosure and the going with separation came as a serious stun to the creator. By this point, she was in her late 40s, she'd experienced numerous breakups previously, and she'd rose up out of every one of them moderately sound. However, something about this one sent her into a spiral of uneasiness and gloom, which drove her to search out an advisor for herself, a moderately aged man named Wendell. At the point when she went to Wendell's office just because she showed up simply like her own patients with an account previously developed in her psyche. In that account, her internal unrest was only the consequence of her separation, and her separation, thus, was just the after-effect of a disastrous reality about her ex, to be specific, that he was, in her very own words, a goddamn mother-loving egotistical sociopath. In her initial couple of sessions of treatment, the creator invested quite a bit of her energy attempting to demonstrate the legitimacy of her account. She informed Wendell concerning all the sketchy things her ex said and did when their separation, trusting that Wendell would concur with her that the ex was, for sure, childish and sociopathic. She imagined that if Wendell gave her account outer approval, she'd have the option to utilize it to understand her separation and proceed onward with her life. Yet, Wendell would not give her the approval she was searching for. As we'll find in the following flicker, he recognized the truth about it, a method for maintaining a strategic distance from her main problems. Chapter 3. Therapy patients use defense mechanism to abstain from going up against reality, and specialists must see through them. A portion of the fundamental complexities of treatment originate from a few extremely straightforward realities about individuals. The first is that, as a rule, we don't care to feel excruciating feelings, and we'll maintain a strategic distance from them in the event that we can. The second is that, once more, as a rule, we need to feel constructive about ourselves, and we need other individuals to feel positive about us as well. In any case, in treatment, patients are approached to dive profound into the most genuinely agonizing pieces of their minds and uncover the monstrous, conceivably unflattering injuries that are putrefying there. This runs counter to both of the previously mentioned human inclinations. Thus, numerous patients set up safeguard instruments to attempt to avert the danger that treatment appears to posture to them. For the creator, focusing on her ex and his supposed offenses was accurately such a protection system. By occupying the majority of the hour of her underlying treatment sessions, it kept her and her specialist from tending to her genuine, basic issues, the ones that made her separation feel so horrendous in any case. To look at reality covered by such a protection system, an advisor needs to get on hints from his patient. For instance, Wendell saw that in one of the creator's tirades about her ex, she made a passing mourn about her life being half-finished. From pieces of information like this, he gathered that she wasn't simply vexed about the cutting off of her association. Rather, she was feeling anguish over an a lot greater closure, for sure, the greatest completion of all, passing itself. On an allegorical level, she was lamenting the passing of things to come that she had imagined with her ex, a future wherein they got hitched and lived joyfully ever after. Be that as it may, on a progressively strict level, she was likewise lamenting for her very own mortality. 2 or 3 years before the emergency that sent her to treatment, she had started encountering a secretive disease with a wide scope of indications, including exhaustion, hand tremors and a sporadic heartbeat. She saw numerous pros, yet none of them could analyze her. She dreaded the most exceedingly awful, whatever it was, maybe it was gradually murdering her. Fears don't get considerably more basic than the dread of death, yet there are some different ones that can underlie a treatment patient's displaying issues. Chapter 4. Therapy regularly rotates around the misfortune and recovery of human connection. While passing may appear a definitive dread, ask yourself this: would you remain alive in the event that you were let know needed to carry on with a mind-blowing remainder in isolation? The possibility of long-haul dejection is truly frightening, and its fact can be out-and-out intolerable. That was unquestionably valid for one of the creator's older patients, a 69-year elderly person named Rita who had been totally socially disengaged for about 10 years when she came to see the creator. Rita felt such a hankering for human association that she began getting pedicures to make sure she could have at any rate one type of physical contact in her life, the pedicurist contacting her feet. Be that as it may, Rita was essentially on the outrageous finish of a range of forlornness which numerous treatment patients either as of now end up on, or dread being on. For instance, the TV scriptwriter John was encompassed by partners at work and had a spouse and 2 children at home, but since he didn't have the foggiest idea how to transparently speak with them, despite everything he felt a feeling of seclusion. Furthermore, in the creator's case, her association with her ex facilitated her dread of disengagement when they were still attached. Be that as it may, when they separated, her dread rose to the surface and was another explanation the separation influenced her to such an extent. With middle age crawling up on her, she was apprehensive she'd never locate another sentimental accomplice. In the creator's understanding, an absence of human association is one of the most widely recognized basic issues that brings patients into treatment. So producing such an association with their specialist at that point assumes a significant job in bringing them out once more, by helping them arrive at a position of mending. During a treatment session, an advisor and his patient experience something that is ending up progressively unprecedented in the chaotic, cell phone-dependent present-day world, an all-encompassing time of continuous time where to have a up-close and personal discussion. Through the span of a progression of such sessions, the patient can disclose to her story and feel comprehended by the specialist, who at that point enables change her account into one that will enable her transition to advance with her life. For some, patients like Rita, pushing ahead can include connecting with other individuals and producing new, or restored, connections. In any case, before that can occur, there are regularly a few other hidden issues that the patient needs to deal with. Chapter 5. In many cases, treatment likewise spins around the misfortune and recovery of a feeling of importance in a patient's life. Here's another theoretical inquiry to begin with: given a decision among life and passing, which would you pick? There's one significant admonition: you must spend an amazing remainder accomplishing something that feels totally good for nothing to you. Having no feeling of significance can make our lives feel vacant, and it's another basic hidden issue that carries patients into the treatment room. That was simply the situation for the creator, in spite of the fact that she didn't understand it at the time. Here's the backstory: when she started her treatment with Wendell, the writer had a cloud approaching over her head, as a book contract that accompanied a weighty development. Presently, a development may seem like a truly decent thing to get, however it's a two-fold-edged sword for an essayist. It implies that they are currently lawfully committed to compose their book, or else they need to restore the cash. This was a major issue for the writer, as she'd just spent the cash however felt incapable to compose the book. Each time she considered it, she felt a deadening feeling of nervousness, and she just couldn't carry herself to really do the composition. Something about it felt wrong, and she couldn't exactly put her finger on it. After she started treatment, she at last made sense of it. She would not like to compose the book on the grounds that the task felt good for nothing to her. She simply didn't feel a feeling of individual association with the point, which was helicopter child rearing, the marvel wherein guardians drift too firmly over their youngsters. Be that as it may, not composing the book represented another issue of negligibility for the writer. Her operator revealed to her that on the off chance that she didn't complete her book, she may never arrive another agreement. For the writer, this was an extremely calming prospect, since composing wasn't only a thing she accomplished professionally, notwithstanding her work as an advisor. It was likewise part of her feeling of personality, and it gave her a feeling of direction. On the off chance that she couldn't compose, her life would lose a significant part of its importance. At last, she chose to acknowledge the hazard in abandoning her book, breaking her agreement and restoring the development. Furthermore, the hazard satisfied when she proceeded to compose a book that was really significant to her. To be specific, the book these squints depend on. Chapter 6, Recapturing a feeling of opportunity is one of the keys to recovery. In choosing to laugh in the face of any potential risk and drop her book contract, the writer was additionally dealing with the fourth and last fundamental issue that frequently drives patients to search out treatment: an absence of a feeling of opportunity. Somehow, numerous patients feel caught. For the writer, it was feeling secured in an agreement for a book she would not like to compose. For the older lady Rita, it was feeling stuck in her social segregation. She would not like to search out new connections since she feared being harmed by them, in the wake of having encountered numerous fruitless relationships and practically all-out antagonism from her kids. For the TV scriptwriter John, it was feeling unfit to proceed onward from the loss of his child, just as inclination incapable to be sincerely open to other individuals. Also, for Julie, a 33-year-old school educator, it was feeling bound by the terminal disease with which she had as of late been analyzed. Presently, Julie's case raises a significant point to hold up under at the top of the priority list. At times, individuals truly are caught in their circumstances. While the writer would confront ramifications for breaking her book contract, that decision was as yet accessible to her. Interestingly, Julie couldn't simply leave her disease. She had no real option except to confront it. Be that as it may, how she confronted it was up to her. She could have disintegrated underneath its passionate load. However, rather, she chose to capitalize on her grievous conditions. Before she got her conclusion, she had consistently been a truly wary individual. Yet, looked with the practically certain prospect of biting the dust in only a couple of years, she made plans to begin going out on a limb and accomplishing every one of the things she'd recently kept herself away from. She addressed an advertisement for a nearby band looking for an artist. She went on a game show. She even chose to turn into a clerk at the supermarket Trader Joe's after she went out on the town to shop there one day. Watching the clerks, she thought their employments appeared to be a lot more social than her work as a teacher. Julie's story contains an exercise that applies to us all, regardless of what circumstance we face. Indeed, even in the direst of conditions, regardless, we have the opportunity to defy our conditions somehow, and a few different ways are more advantageous than others. Tragically, numerous individuals pick the unhealthier alternatives, for reasons we'll take a gander at next. Chapter 7, Our resistance to change can make it hard to utilize our opportunity and pick a more advantageous way. Now, you've met the majority of the primary characters of the creator's story, aside from one. Charlotte was a 25-year elderly person with a drinking issue, and a preference for engaging in undesirable associations with men of faulty character. She was one of those individuals who just couldn't appear to support herself. Regardless of how often she avoided drinking or seeking after unfortunate connections, she generally appeared to wind up coming back to the container or succumbing to another man who wasn't beneficial for her. What leads individuals like Charlotte to keep accomplishing things they know are awful for them? All things considered, to quit doing them would mean rolling out some enormous improvements in their lives. For Charlotte, that would involve figuring out how to associate without the guide of liquor, and how to seek after associations with men who were more genuinely stable than the ones she was acquainted with. In any case, tragically, individuals will in general have an inward protection from change. That obstruction to a great extent emerges from a basic reality: there's a sure feeling of solace that accompanies nature, and this can even stretch out to agonizing, undesirable parts of an individual's life once our propensities become all around okay settled. For Charlotte's situation, her affinity toward undesirable connections had a long history, extending right back to her initial adolescence. Her folks battled a great deal, reviling and shouting so boisterously that the neighbors some of the time grumbled. Due to this youth experience, Charlotte came to unknowingly connect love with a feeling of nervousness, instead of satisfaction or serenity. Subsequently, every time another awful kid tagged along in her life, she would fall prey to this appalling affiliation, feeling a baffling feeling of fascination toward the man in spite of her better judgment. On the other hand, each time she met a potential beau who was more qualified to her, she would feel a similarly secretive absence of science with him in light of the fact that the man's passionate strength was something contrary to the flimsiness she unwittingly connected with adoration. Thus, she felt a natural briskness toward him. As Charlotte's story outlines, when somebody builds up a feeling of good recognition with an undesirable part of their lives, it starts acting like a groundbreaking attractive power, pulling in business as usual and rebuffing change. We'll see how individuals can beat this power in the following and last squint. Chapter 8. Letting our feelings out is the way to letting down our guard. At the point when Charlotte started her treatment with the Creator, she appeared to be practically deadpan. She talked about everything in a similar monotone voice, regardless of whether it was something positive, similar to a manager commending her work, or something shocking, similar to a rape she encountered in school. In any case, it wasn't as though she couldn't feel any feelings, she essentially didn't have the foggiest idea what she felt or how to express it, a marvel called alexithymia. Charlotte's condition may have been on the extraordinary finish of the range, yet numerous individuals experience some type of passionate disengagement. That is particularly evident with regards to their most profound negative feelings, similar to the dread of death or separation. A large portion of us would prefer not to feel those feelings, so we attempt to stifle them. A few people resort to barrier instruments. Other individuals take part in self-prescription, as Charlotte did with liquor. Be that as it may, our most profound feelings don't simply vanish when we attempt to disregard, stifle or smear them out. They keep rotting within us, and they regularly show themselves through oblivious practices and physical manifestations, for example, a jittery foot or an absence of hunger. A patient's enormous leap forward minute more often than not comes when they discover a method for transparently communicating covered feelings. That could mean conceding that your enthusiastic separation feels like poop, as the 25-year-old Charlotte did during the session that wound up altering an amazing course. Or then again it could mean composition an ardent letter to somebody, as the older lady Rita did to her irritated youngsters. It could mean yelling a swear word again and again, as the Creator's patient Julie did when deploring the unpleasantness of her malignant growth. Or on the other hand it could essentially mean letting free a surge of tears, as the writer and John the TV scriptwriter did when they each at long last recognized the distress they were feeling. Such tears may feel like a type of separating, yet truth be told, they're a type of tearing open. In crying them, an individual is letting down their gatekeeper and letting out their actual feelings, enabling themselves to completely feel and straightforwardly face these curved parts of themselves all the while. What's more, there's a basic word for what that speaks to: opportunity. No, an individual doesn't quickly take care of their issues now, yet since they're transparently recognizing them, they can at long last begin to deal with them. As it were, the finish of this story is only the start of another one. Final summary. Patients more often than not enter treatment with a broken origination of the issues that drove them to search out assistance in any case. They abstain from standing up to the genuine idea of their issues through imperfect stories and guard systems. Their basic issues regularly include a dread of death, seclusion as well as unimportance, which is typically combined with an absence of a feeling of opportunity. Recapturing a feeling of opportunity is the way to recovery, yet individuals' inward resistance to change makes that troublesome. To defeat that opposition, a patient should just recognize and express the feelings encompassing her hidden issue.